Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, Tom here, and today is Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. We're going to be doing a quarterly recap from the first quarter of this year. This was pre-recorded. I'm actually at home recovering from surgery, having some metal pins put into my body, so the scrapper will be even stronger in me after this, I guess. But I want to go over the last 3 months and just kind of talk about things going into the second quarter, as we always talk about kind of week to week stuff. But let's recap what happened over the last few months. So if you do have any questions or you're looking for updated prices, please go right to iScrapApp.com, whether you're using the mobile website, the app for the Android or the iPhone. Prices are up there and easily accessible and easy for you to post as well. So let's talk about our ABCs. I like to kind of dial that scrap down to the simple ABCs, and we'll start with the aluminum markets. Aluminum has shown increase over the last few months. We have seen the aluminum prices increasing, and what we're starting to look for is manufacturing and overall demand. And things that I look for throughout the quarter are how strong are auto sales, right? So we had some announcements over the last week or two. Tesla had a down month. Ford has a massive amount of EVs that are sitting on lots. They're also cutting back production on future electric vehicles. We've seen other companies talking about a downflow, multiple reasons for that. Interest rates, lack of purchasing, high car prices the last few months, years, right? So those are things that have not contributed to the aluminum pricing really increasing big time, but we have seen it increase, and I think it's kind of getting past the end of the fourth quarter, companies really gearing up. And what I saw was a slow build January, February, and March. Each month was a little higher than the last, so hopefully we'll start to see some of the increased prices of aluminum affecting the scale prices. I'll pull up sheet aluminum prices real quick just to give you an indicator. 46 cents a pound is a national average, what we've seen, and that's over the last 30 days. Now, that is up. Earlier this year, it was around 40 cents a pound. So we have seen a bit of an increase, which is nice. So we've seen those markets going, and aluminum has continued to be one of those items that I strongly recommend selling. If you do have time to upgrade your aluminum, check out some of the videos that we've created on YouTube showing you how to sort and process your aluminum better. That may help you learn more about the markets and learn more about how you can upgrade and make more money with your scrap. So secondary, we're going to go to brass. Brass markets, of course, heavily reliant on the copper prices, which have seen an overall increase in the first quarter of this year. We've seen brass prices going up. We'll pull up the national average of what we currently have for yellow brass, over $2 a pound. I know that my yard's paying a little over $2.20, similar to Freedom there, about $2.22, I believe we're paying for yellow brass. So we have seen a price increase about 20 cents in the last 3 months. Now, copper prices had a little more of an uptick in March, and we'll talk about those in a second. But the brass prices have also seen that uptick happen, not because of the zinc and some of the other metals that go into brass. Really, the copper prices led the charge there. Things that I look at, though, I look at sales from Home Depot and Lowe's, right? Because when you think of brass, you try to say, okay, where do you see it in your everyday life? Faucets, fixtures, handles, things like that. And those companies have seen a slowdown in kind of the homeowner remodeling or the homeowner upgrades. We have seen the building sector really building itself out. We're seeing condos and apartment buildings really being heavily pushed right now and built here in the East Coast. I see them everywhere. I was in Pennsylvania the other day, saw new ones going in there. So there is a demand for some of this hardware, this brass hardware that's out there, but it's more of a new demand than it is an existing demand and kind of the home remodeling type of a thing. That train really has kind of left the station over the last 3 years. Post-COVID, people are done with their home improvement projects and they want to get in the road and drive out. So that's kind of a rough idea where we are when it comes to the brass prices the last 3 months. Now, as I mentioned, copper prices are up, and we have seen these markets strong the last few days and few weeks. We saw copper prices bottoming out trading wise around 369, but going into the fourth quarter, we saw a bit of a jump up, and we've seen prices jump to trading over $4 per pound. Here we can pull up Bear Bright prices, and we can see a national average right now at 324. Rockaway Recycling is paying 365. We see other companies starting to pull their prices up, but we talked about this. Some companies don't have huge sales numbers. They're smaller scrap yards, so their numbers don't move as quickly as larger facilities do. So following the online prices, checking what other people are getting for their copper is going to help you. But as for the demand of copper, we haven't seen a demand. It's been funny because I read news a couple of weeks ago about the Chinese shutting down one of their copper facilities, or pausing it, let's say. But I've also seen other countries like India picking up a lot of their production, and they're trying to develop their country. So if we can see into 2024 and beyond, the India market starting to come online, we could start to see these prices for copper increasing in the coming years. But going into the second quarter, I'm happy where the markets are. Very stable markets overall when you look at a 3-month picture, with an uptick at the end, which is always nice going into the spring and summer. But copper demand and copper prices have been very steady and strong, not overly strong, and the demand is definitely not outpacing the supply, as we are seeing multiple vendors, and I've read articles about the London Metal Exchange. There is a lot of copper in the inventory pile right now, so we haven't seen a huge demand where it's outweighing the supply. That's what we're going to be waiting on, hopefully in 2025, where that kind of switches over. Some of this clean energy takes more footing. The Indian market comes more online for demand. That will help increase some of the prices. Now, before I go to steel, let's talk about another C, and that's catalytic converters. And what's happened in the catalytic converter market this year? Really nothing crazy. Over at rrcats.com, we've been seeing a relatively flatline number this year, with prices averaging nationally between $68 and $78 for your average OEM catalytic converter. If you go to rrcats.com, you can see our price list for different grades, from domestic to foreign to bread loaves. We always advise to get a quote. This way we can try to quote you off of serial numbers, but these markets have gone up. And in Virginia, you can just click on the national average just to give them a bit of an idea of the last 3 months. I know that people like a little more specific, but this can show you here since the beginning of February, we're averaging 74 right now. It has crept up to 78, so we are seeing a little bit of a market increased demand the last 2-3 months. That's really great. And the one thing that I'll focus on is that the Biden administration talked about emissions controls and talked about having a higher level of control. And we are seeing that automakers are going to start to put more of these precious metals into the catalytic converters to help offset the emissions. What we don't know is what are the current supplies, because we saw such an influx of catalytic converters in 2021 and 2022. 2023 shot down as the prices started to decrease. So we're looking at these markets trying to figure out where they're going to go. So we're watching them closely, and hopefully they continue to follow. Some of the gold prices which hit all-time record highs, and the platinum, palladium, and rhodium markets will kind of follow themselves forward as well. Now, last but certainly not least of your ABCs, and we'll go throw an extra C in there, but we'll talk about S for steel. Steel markets have not had the best quarter. We have definitely seen prices going down $50, $60, $70 per ton. Now, steel is one of those items that I always recommend selling as you get it, regardless of what the prices are, unless it's like an air conditioner and you need to take it apart. And speaking of taking things apart, our YouTube page does such a nice job answering your questions and producing videos. So if you're looking to learn how to make more money with your scrap, watch videos on whether it's taking apart sealed units, lawnmowers, refrigerators, water heaters. When it comes to steel, there's a lot of ways for you to make more money, and we have a lot of videos that illustrate that. But when we pull up the national steel price right now, we'll pull up light iron because it's kind of a good bellwether, or maybe or shred here. Light iron, we're at 144, and we are seeing, you can see on that chart there, we're seeing about a 20% decrease the last 30 days. That just means that people are starting to get these prices really pushed back. Of course, we had that horrible bridge collapse in Baltimore, which we've touched on, which has not heavily affected the steel price except in that area because the port can't ship anything out. So any of the steel that's going in there, you can't move it, and your piles can only be stacked so high. But nationally and internationally, we are seeing a demand, but it really isn't strong. You think about residential building, like I talked about with apartments and condos, a lot of those use wood and not a lot of metal, because they don't have to. They don't have to have steel beams like a commercial building would. So as the U.S. is heavily building in the residential sector, which is really good for the builders, the steel producers are not seeing that. The steel producers are not selling as much to the auto manufacturers. We touched with the aluminum, Tesla and Ford, a decreased demand, a slumping in sales. So that has affected the steel prices as well. While we started to see a flatline number happening the end of March, we're still unfortunately hearing that April is going to be another down month. We're hoping that settles itself out, but I talked to 2 different mills recently, and they just said their demand isn't there, so they're not trying to overpay for material that they can get at cheaper prices. Good for them, bad for us, and really bad for them because they want to be able to pay higher prices, believe it or not, because that means that they're shipping stuff out and the demand is there. So when steel prices are up, manufacturers and steel recyclers, it's a win-win for us, but it's a loss as a consumer because then the metal prices cost more money. Now, on our page, we have all types of materials that you can check out. If we can just click on this, when you go to iScrapApp.com, you click on prices. There are so many different grades. You can choose all categories, ferrous, non-ferrous, and you can see some of the moving averages that we have. You also have the ability to switch between Canadian dollars and US dollars. So if you're looking to learn more about where the markets are and where the prices are, this is a great resource for you to be able to use, whether you're uploading your own prices or checking on prices that other people have. And you get to learn a lot about the markets. When you click on a random metal, you're going to get to see pictures and videos and descriptions of those metals. And that's going to help you learn more about the scrap industry so you become a smarter customer, you make more money at the scrap yard, and you continue to tune in and listen to the advice and the ideas that we have here at iScrap. So scrappers, today is Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. This is not our regular weekly report, but a quarterly recap for Q1 2024. We look forward to hearing your comments. We'll respond to them, and then we'll produce some content based on things that you're looking for us to do. Until next week, scrappers, this is Tom, and I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for watching our video. For $2.99 a month, by becoming a member, you can get access to early videos, member-only videos, merchandise discounts from our store, and priority comments that we answer before answering any other scrappers. Click the link below to learn more. Until next time, scrap you later.